Apparently, if you do not chock the tires properly, bad things happen, don't they, Brent? Last week we talked about where we had been over our 3 weeks and how much distance we had covered, and this week we want to talk about mistakes we made and the lessons we learned from them. So the first thing that we had happen to us that caused a little bit of stress was our anti-sway broke.
There was a little tab on the hitch that where one of the spring arms attached, and it had mysteriously disappeared.
Last year, when we were coming back from Kennewick, we had a little problem that one of the equalizer bars fell off as we were pulling back onto the freeway. We didn't really know why, but we put it back on and drove home, and all was well. It came off this last trip, when Brent was making a left-hand turn, very sharp left-hand turn at my brother's place. And was there another time it came off too?
Yes, it did.
Okay.
Actually, with these equalizers that hold on with the chain, I found, I'm not sure about all models, but this particular one, if you make too sharp a right turn or left turn, it will fall out, because there is a little catch on here. I'll just show you if you want to come a little closer. Right here, if you want to get a close-up of that, there's a little notch right there that the bar goes in, and now it won't fall out. But if you do too tight a turn, it might fall out.
Okay.
So what our issue was when we were coming back from Kennewick last year, and again on this most recent trip, this is it shouldn't come out now. All I do is lift up, so the tension got taken off of it, and the reason why is this: that little tab has been sheared off. This hitch still works fine if there is constant pressure on both spring arms. You turn too sharp one way or the other, it's going to fall out like that. And what I've done with this, I've actually made a little modification for myself for this specific hitch, because I take a little piece of cable and I put it through each end of the chains, so if one falls off, it's not getting lost on the highway. And it's just a little safety thing so we don't lose it and have it fly through somebody's windshield. So this is one thing that I have done. But now we don't have to worry about this anymore. We can get rid of that. We upgraded to an equalizer brand. This here, I have to put it together myself. But this is a 4-way anti-sway. This is pretty much the cream of the crop when it comes to anti-sway bars.
The other mistake we made was when we arrived in Grand Forks. We got our back end a little bit too far back. So I'll let you take this one, Brent.
Okay, well, on our 315 RLTS, behind the rear tires, there's roughly 12 feet of trailer. Right at the back of the trailer.
Okay, so here's our wheels. And we're gonna walk back. And our stabilizers are right here.
So behind the rear tires is roughly 12 feet of trailer. So I figured we could back up quite far, and I wanted to be back as far as possible in the site, as long as the rear stabilizer jacks were able to touch the ground. As you can see, they are roughly 2 feet from the back of the trailer. So right about here is where the hill started to go down into the river. So that's basically where the back of the trailer stopped. Here we are in Grand Forks. This is just one of the things that I didn't do right. I pride myself on planning things, making sure everything's right, every little detail is taken care of. One little thing I kind of had a brain fluff on is I love this spot. I wanted to back in so far that we backed up right to the river. See, there's shrubs and trees and everything right around us. And we're literally back over the river. But this is as far as I can get. And there is my ladder. And it's definitely over a bit of a cliff. I can't get to it from the other side either. So one thing I'm gonna have to try and do is either reach out the back window of the truck or the trailer, or reach around the corner here to unlock it so I can get the ladder off. Because I always do a pre-trip of the roof before we put slides in. That's always very important. If you get a thick stick or a twig or even a bunch of leaves up there, it can cause havoc down the road. Whether it tears your seal for the slide or it gets inside and does other damage. So, one thing I did wrong, but there'll be more.
We had another problem in Grand Forks. We ended up with a minor flood. Well, more of a...
Luckily it was minor. Minor is okay.
We had some issues hooking up the water.
Yeah, I was having issues with the spigot, and so I couldn't get it hooked up properly. So as Miriam puts out the slides, we've got the stabilizers down, we're going through our routine of setup, I finally get the water hooked up. And then as I'm hooking up something else with the sewage line on the other side, on the business side of the rig, water starts flowing out underneath the fridge, coming out from underneath the slide. Not a good thing when you usually see water flowing freely. So I yell to Miriam, she comes in. This is the way the counter was set up. And we found out that when we left our previous place in Cranbrook, Miriam had to come back inside with the slides in and crawl over the island to grab something that she needed. Little did we know, this little knob right here, I'll have to open it. This actually turned on while she climbed over the island. When she did it, there was no water flowing because we weren't hooked up. So everything's like this, this gets turned on. When I finally get the water hooked up, water starts flowing. And it doesn't go down the sink because the covers are on. It flows straight off and goes down underneath the slide. So this is the one mistake that we found. And we put one of Miriam's hair ties on there now for whenever we travel.
Band.
Oh, is it rubber band? Okay.
Yeah, a rubber band.
Just to keep this
actually a couple of them that we had, you know, if you get when you pick up produce or whatever. So stick them on there. Happiness is.
So there we go. That holds it closed. So you're not going to have the same flood issue that we had. Luckily it was minor, and we found out what it was that caused it, and it's all taken care of. But hopefully we could help somebody out that may have come across the same issue as well.
On the upside, I didn't have to mop the floors. They got cleaned for me. On the downside, we had a lot of wet towels. This one is not really a mistake that we made. It was something we learned when we got to Lethbridge. We found out that our roof had started peeling back.
That's why you always do the roof check as part of your pre-trip. Always.
And so the lesson there is basically, good thing we have been doing that pre-trip. Okay, Brent, what happened?
Well, as I come up and check the roof for any trees, tree branches, leaves, acorns, whatever, found a little issue with my roof. This had peeled back all the way across. Luckily, I have some self-leveling DAP, which I always knew I'd need eventually. And I got some sticky tape, double-sided, 6-inch wide. And I knew I'd need that eventually. I've used it a couple times already for minor jobs, but this, you gotta make sure it's well sealed. Cruising down the highway, we don't want this coming up.
Brent and I had a funny discovery a little bit ago. Brent was looking up the weather and noticing they were saying it was 22 degrees.
Yeah.
And then I said, oh, let's check the thermometer. And he's like, we looked at each other going, we didn't take the thermometer off the back of the rig when we left Saskatoon. And we had taken it off because we figured it would fall when we left home, but we didn't take it off the rig. So I go running back here and it's still there. That's so awesome. I didn't think it would stay on.
You and me.
We both assumed the darn thing would have fallen off, but it's there, and that's great. I think we'll take it off when we leave here though, eh?
Sure.
Just in case. Apparently, if you do not chalk the tires properly, bad things happen, don't they, Brent?
Yeah, we found out the hard way. First thing you should always do once you get to a site and you know that you don't have to move the trailer anymore, chalk those tires. That is the first and most important thing you can do. Our tires were chalked, but they weren't tight under the tires, and when I disconnected, the trailer jumped a little bit. Even if it only moves 2 inches, 3 inches, we bent our tongue jack. So this here is actually not the bottom piece, but the part that's actually part of the motor inside has bent just slightly askew, and now this bottom piece is a real pain to get on and off. So make sure when you're disconnecting, you've got your tires chalked properly and solid.
So all in all, I think we've done pretty good with not too many blunders.
Yeah, we've had a few brain fluffs, nothing major, and our Grand Design has treated us really well. We've got no major issues, knock on wood. So everything's been going good so far, and you live and learn. Anything else you'd like to add there, honey?
No, that's it. I will always make sure those chocks are in nice and tight from now on. I got in trouble. So that's it for this week. We will catch up with you next week. And
Give us a thumbs up if you like what you see.
remember to subscribe.
And ring that bell for notifications. Ding, 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 ding.
Bye for now. This week we want to talk about the mistakes that happened. Hang on, let's start that again. We've just recently returned. I have things flying down at me. Okay, let's start that whole